Welcome back to Times Now Live. I'm Siddharth Talia. Now, the rupee has further depreciated in value against the dollar, breaching the 81 mark. This is a record. This is amid an ongoing war in Ukraine and, of course, the decision that was taken by the US Federal Reserve to hike interest rates even further. Should India be alarmed? Should the RBI intervene as it has been doing so actively so far? Or should the rupee be allowed to find its own feet? Let's listen into some reactions.
See, the rupee dollar issue makes an entire difference in the world. It is a duty of any government to protect the value of the rupee. When rupee goes down, the international market will be affected. The relationship between we and China, you know that whatever the imports were coming has affected a lot. So the policies of Manmohan Singh government is much needed for this country. That is why Sonia Gandhi was very firm to save the country. An economist like Manmohan Singh should be there as the Prime Minister of this country. I also congratulate Mr. Narayan Murthy for his brave words, commitment, guidance to this country.
It's a very important comment coming from someone who's respected in Indian industry, Mr. Narayan Murthy. And the fact that he is also passing a comment on this, I don't know what reason he did it and in what context, but the fact of the matter is the BJP has always held that the economy was in great disarray when Prime Minister Modi assumed office as the Prime Minister in 2014, and it has taken a lot of hard work of this government.
Well, to debate this, we're actually being joined right now by two guests, Rishi Bagri, political analyst, as well as Professor Arun Kumar, senior economist, who join us on the broadcast. Thank you, gentlemen, for speaking to us. Mr. Bagri, coming to you first. How long can India actually sustain the deteriorating value of the rupee? Because we've almost exhausted $90 billion of our foreign exchange reserves on the part of the RBI since January this year to contain this particular problem. How much further can the rupee be allowed to depreciate, and to what extent can we sustain the argument that the currency should be allowed to find its own feet?
Siddharth, you need to understand the complete context. The Indian currency has depreciated against the American dollar by 8%. That's true, that's fact. But what people doesn't want to say is that, and doesn't want to acknowledge is that Indian currency is one of the least depreciated currency in the world. And actually, it has appreciated against euro. It has appreciated by 8%. It has appreciated against yen by 18% and British pound by 11%. And all other currencies, if you see all other major currency, it has appreciated against. And rupee is like, you need to understand the dollar index is at 20-year high. That means dollar is strengthening against all currency, not only against rupee, but it is strengthening because of Fed rate hikes. That is the reason why the carry trade are being unwinded and they are attracting the inflows in the dollar. But the problem is that dollar index is at a high. Now you come back to other parameters which are very important and relatively important. You see the inflation. India's inflation is 7%. US inflation is 8.5%. And European inflation is at double digit. You take the price of the petrol. We are one of the few countries where in last 1 year, the petrol prices have gone 3 to 4% down. You take any city of your choice, and you will find that the same result. But you take the prices of the petrol in Europe, the prices of the gasoline in the USA, and you will see that they are a jump of 60 to 70% of those things. Food inflation in India, 7.7% high. In Europe and in America, in USA, it is 20% high. Then you come back to other parameters like job addition and everything. Our CMI data in last 1 month from 8.5%, it has gone to 6.8%. It has reduced. The unemployment rate has reduced. So if our economy is bad, why we are going up in the ladder? Why we have become the 5th largest economy? Why our jobs are getting better? Why our inflation is contained? Why our petrol price is going down? So we need to see all these things in respective things. Then you take the data of EPFO. We have added 4 million jobs in last 4 months. And these are the new jobs. These are the formal jobs I'm talking about. CMI is talking about overall jobs. I'm talking about the formal job. The GST collection has been high. We are selling one of the highest automobile right now. We are selling almost the automobile sale has been almost 6-year high. So all this data you cannot just simply ignore. And if you compare our situation with the situation in Europe and the USA, we are much better. The energy prices in Europe has gone 10x. We haven't witnessed this kind of energy prices surge in India. Neither we have witnessed the gas prices, which has gone 7 times in Europe, and in India it's hardly gone 40 to 50%. So obviously there are big difference if you see the data. It's very easy to dish out the India, but India has done relatively much better than other part of the world.
Professor Arun Kumar, Mr. Bagri, of course, believes that the economic fundamentals of India continue to remain strong despite the depreciating value of the rupee. And in comparison to the other currencies, we've actually done significantly better. If you compare it to the yuan or the ringgit or the euro or the pound or the Japanese yen, their depreciation values vis-a-vis the US dollar in the month of August were actually higher than that of India. So how would you actually assess the current economic scenario in the light of us breaching another record, which is going past the 81 mark against the dollar?
So, I think we need to look at the Indian economy in itself, because any time the prices rise, the unorganized sector gets hit very hard, because by definition, they cannot get their wages increased. So in India, we've had a split between the organized sector and the unorganized sector. The organized sector has been doing very well, but the unorganized sector has been declining. Demand has shifted from the unorganized sector to the organized sector. You can see, for instance, in the trade sector, demand has shifted from the neighborhood stores to the e-commerce and the malls. Similarly, in the FMCG sector, recently you had the Hindustan Unilever report, which said that the share of their share in the market has increased because the small-scale sector is doing poorly. And you see that kind of report coming from textile sector, from the leather sector, and various other sectors. So the unorganized sector, where 94% of the labor works, that is getting hit. And when you have the rupee depreciating, then it will lead to a higher rate of inflation in the Indian economy. So what is a 7% inflation rate in India feels worse than what maybe an 8.5% rate of inflation in the US, because there you have mostly labor in the organized sector. Same for Europe. So here in India, the rise in food prices and energy prices hurt far more than what the price rise in the European or the American context is. Secondly, you see decline of the rupee is speculative, because suddenly things have not changed as yet. But it is on the basis of expectation about the future. And the future is very uncertain because of the continued Ukraine war. It's also very uncertain because Putin is now talking about use of nuclear weapons possibly. It's also very uncertain because of the rise in the energy prices, given that Russia is blocking the supplies to Europe. And therefore, from West Asia, the supplies are going to Europe and the prices have risen. So there are a lot of uncertainties at this point of time. Right. And that's why you see dollar, which is a reserve currency in a sense for the global economy, people are flying to the dollar. So away from euro, away from yen, away from rupee to the dollar. Also, the rise in the interest rate that has been triggered by the Fed of 0.75% 3 times, and the next rise is also likely to be 0.75%. That means capital is going to the US away from the other economies. And that means that, therefore the rupee declines. Now, if the rupee declines rapidly, then speculation will take place. And therefore, what will happen is that the rupee will decline even faster. So RBI is doing the right thing by going along a glide path where the rupee is going slowly rather than rapidly. As you see, suddenly in the last 2-3 days after the 0.75% increase, the rupee has declined sharply. Now, the RBI, therefore, is releasing more funds, so it doesn't glide down too fast. It glides slowly. It will glide given the fact that the US economy is still doing quite well, whereas other economies are not doing that well. Especially now, Britain has been declared to be in recession. Europe is likely to be heading into recession. China has not been doing too well because of the lockdowns. Yes. So given all this, a recession is very likely in the coming 2-3 quarters. So all that put together, the dollar will strengthen, but rupee should decline slowly. That is what I think the RBI is doing, and I think RBI is right in doing that. And even though foreign exchange reserves will decline,
That's right.
They've already declined by $90 billion. But what are the foreign exchange reserves for if you don't use them when you actually need them? So I think
Absolutely.
the RBI is on the right path.
Right. Thank you, Professor Arun Kumar, as well as Rishi Bagri, for joining us on this discussion. The RBI is doing the right thing. And even if foreign exchange reserves have depleted to the extent of almost $90 billion since the month of January, that still pretty much gives us enough cushion because of the magnitude of our reserves for us to contain this depreciation that we're facing so far. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. Bagri and Professor Kumar. We turn our attention now